Good Monday morning to you. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Michelle Beck. Just hours ago in the nation's capital, the first real sign that the longest government shutdown might be coming to an end. And it's all about compromise. NBC's Alice Barr looks at the tentative deal struck by senators.
This morning, compromise in the Senate, moving the nation closer to ending the longest ever government shutdown.
The motion upon reconsideration is agreed to.
A group of Democrats negotiating with Republicans agreeing to fund the government through the end of January and certain departments like agriculture through next September, ensuring SNAP low-income food benefits would extend that long and end a growing crisis over food access.
I was being threatened to be taken away from them as long as this went on. That's crazy.
The deal would also reverse shutdown layoffs of federal workers and guarantee all federal employee back pay. But what it does not include has Democrats divided. Nothing on health care or extending Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act.
Democrats who voted yes say tying a government funding vote to the health care issue simply wasn't working. This agreement includes the promise of a Senate vote on the Obamacare subsidies by mid-December before they expire at the end of the year. And Democrats argue if Republicans vote it down,
they can own the disastrous premium increases that will continue to rise. They will own the fact that Americans across this country are going to lose access to health care.
President Trump and Republican leadership projecting confidence.
It looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending.
I'm optimistic.
Though several key steps remain, most notably securing passage in the House, where many Democrats are already voicing opposition. We could see a final vote in the Senate as soon as today. The House is in recess and members have to come back to Washington to vote with the hope of wrapping it up and reopening the government by the end of the week before the worst of the pain at airports. A promised 10% cut in flights Friday to relieve staffing shortages. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And both senators from Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, voted against it, saying they are fighting for lower health care costs for Americans. In the meantime, the ongoing government shutdown is taking a toll on the air travel industry. This morning, we're tracking our flights as thousands more cancellations and delays are expected today. Audrey Russo reports from MSP.
52 flights across MSP are canceled today, according to FlightAware. And if you look up at the departures board, you can see some of those cancellations starting to roll in. I've seen a handful of different airlines, but most appear to be from Delta and one of its regional carriers. Now, just in the last 24 hours, the airline released a statement saying it preemptively axed flights through Tuesday in order to comply with the FAA's flight reduction order. Now, take a look at their website. The company is allowing passengers to change, cancel, or refund their flights without penalty. And this includes Delta Main basic fares. However, Delta won't pay for hotels, rental cars, or meals if your flight is canceled. They're pretty much treating this directive from the FAA like a weather event, something that's outside of the airline's control. Now, depending on the airport you go to, if your flight is diverted, you may have a tough time getting your luggage back, like this Delta passenger whose flight to Atlanta was diverted to Birmingham because of staffing shortages.
They're bringing shuttle buses for us, which is great. However, no bags. They don't have enough staff here at the airport to get our bags off the planes and give them to us so we can have our bags when we get home.
Now, I've been checking Flighty all day, and that is an app that tracks flight cancellations, delays, and posts them oftentimes before the airline does. And I've been checking their social media because just before midnight, Flighty posted that Delta is, quote, close to a meltdown. Now, I've reached out to Delta for more clarification to see if that's true, and if so, what that might mean for you, the passenger. So I'll let you know when I get an update from them, but for now, I'll send things back to you.
As the shutdown continues, the legal battle over SNAP benefits is leading to even more confusion this morning. Over the weekend, the USDA sent a memo telling states to immediately undo steps taken to issue full SNAP benefits. But by that point, Minnesotans had already received their benefits for November. The Minnesota Department of Children, Youth and Families saying in part they do not have any mechanism to take back the money from recipients, also pointing out that the move threatens severe financial penalties that would harm Minnesotans.
I don't know what this administration is doing, but it is cruel. It's heartless to try and stop hungry people from getting fed in our country.
The USDA's demand to undo SNAP payouts comes after Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson temporarily paused the lower court's order to pay in full, giving an appeals court more time to review the case. This morning, President Trump pardoning his allies involved in efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Trump's lawyers, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, as well as his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, are on the list among 77 others. A Justice Department said they have been given, quote, full, complete, and unconditional pardons. Now, the pardon explicitly notes that it does not extend to President Trump himself. This morning, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt issuing a statement saying, quote, these great Americans were persecuted and put through hell by the Biden administration. Yet pardons seem to be largely symbolic, as none of the people on the list were convicted of federal crimes. Developing this morning, the Supreme Court rejecting a call to overturn its landmark decision legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide. This decision threw out an appeal that had upset LGBTQ supporters who feared the High Court might revisit the decade-old ruling and potentially change it. The appeal request came from Kim Davis, the former Kentucky court clerk, who refused to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. She's facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and damages for not issuing those licenses. The court didn't provide an explanation for its decision. New this morning, GOP House Speaker Lisa Demuth announces Ryan Wilson as her running mate for the 2026 gubernatorial race. Wilson is a lifelong Minnesotan, a current attorney, and a small business owner. In a statement, Demuth wrote, quote, it is time for some accountability in the highest level of our government, and Ryan Wilson is the one that'll help me to deliver that accountability. It was just last week that Demuth announced she will be running against Governor Walz for his position. She says her top priorities as governor would be to fight fraud, rein in spending, and get children reading at grade level. Right now, we are learning more about a tentative agreement between Minneapolis educators and the school district. The agreement was announced late Saturday night, averting a strike that would have started tomorrow. Several hundred parents rallied along with educators last week who said they were ready for the strike.
I'm concerned in making sure that our best teachers stay and that the classes are manageable for them. We were prepared to make sacrifices to secure the long-term goals.
District says the agreement, quote, centers our students and honors the requests and needs of our staff while balancing the fiscal realities our district is facing. Union members and the school board will still have to approve the deal. This morning, we're learning a driver is in custody in Minneapolis after they allegedly crashed into a police car while drunk. It happened just before 9 last night near Franklin and Harriet Avenues. Minneapolis police saying they were conducting a traffic stop when that car crashed into the squad car, pushing it onto another squad in front of it. No one was hurt. We're tracking a crime alert this morning in South Minneapolis where drivers are waking up to another rash of car break-ins and smashed windows. Police tell us that someone hit cars along several blocks of Fremont Avenue near Franklin Avenue early yesterday morning. Authorities say they responded but didn't find any suspects and couldn't find any of the car owners. Police say officers left information with those cars on how owners can file a police report. Right now, Nadia's in Brooklyn Park is holding a donation drive to get supplies to Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. One organizer says she was eating at the restaurant when someone came in with a bag of rice, hoping to help with the hurricane efforts. She said she then worked with the restaurant's owner to kick off the drive.
We know our Minnesotans, they want to give back, they want to help, but we wanted to provide a medium to make it convenient for them to do that, but also allow them to learn about the organizations that we're supporting.
They're looking to collect shelf-stable foods, clothes, school supplies, and tools like solar-powered phone chargers. You can drop donations off at Nadia's in Brooklyn Park all month long. Today, the light at Split Rock Lighthouse will shine in remembrance 50 years after the tragic sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The tragedy fueled legends and inspired songs, and all day we are honoring this day with special reports on air and on our stream. We begin with Sammy Salina, who recently talked with one of the few remaining relatives of those who died that night.
A father's love for his daughter.
I said, what is this? It's my dad's cookbook.
Runs deep.
1942. And it's old. You can tell it's very, very old. It's got all of his recipes.
Pam Johnson felt it even when her dad, Robert C. Rafferty, was away working as a cook on freighters on the Great Lakes.
Wave goodbye and we'd watch the boat go off. 50 years. I couldn't believe it. I said, 50 years? It was just 35 yesterday.
A freighter carrying a crew of 29 disappeared on Lake Superior during a severe storm last night, and so far, no survivors have been found.
This inland sea is the resting place of the 29 men who sailed on the Edmund Fitzgerald.
So my mom we didn't suspect anything, and then she heard it on the news. She called and said that there was an accident and your dad has probably died.
Robert disappeared the evening of November 10th, 1975. He was among the 29 on Edmund Fitzgerald's final voyage.
And I miss him terribly.
To stick with us, more news and weather are coming up after the break.